monitor the chat. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for getting up early. It's March 11th, and we want to welcome you to this installation of Let's Talk, which is a District 25 series where we have conversations with our communities and we bring experts to the community to talk about issues that we know matter to members of District 25 and to the state of Maryland. Today, we're really excited to be talking about scholarships and financial aid. What a timely conversation. And I'm going to introduce our guest presenter in just a moment. But first, I wanted to ask the members of my team to introduce themselves so that you all, if you have questions or follow-up or need any services from our office, you'll know who you're reaching on phone or via email. So Letitia, you want to get us started?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Letitia Beal. I'm Senator Griffith's Chief of Staff.
Thank you.
Good morning. I am Deborah McBroom. I am the newest staff person on Senator Griffith's staff. I am the Constituent Services Director, and some of you may have received an email from me regarding the scholarship.
Thank you. Sherma? You're muted, Sherma.
Hello, my name is Sherma Brousseau, and I am the Community Liaison for Senator Griffith.
And I am Senator Melony Griffith. It's my honor to represent you in Legislative District 25. And I'll also mention, for those of you that just arrived, we're joined in the Zoom by one of the District 25 delegates, Delegate Karen Tolles, and we may hear from her again at the end of the meeting. So I wanted to mention to everyone that this meeting is going to be recorded. And so for those, if you find you want to share the information with friends and family later, it will be available on the YouTube page and you'll get a follow-up email that has that information. But in the interest of time, I want to go ahead. I'm very excited to introduce Kendall Cook, who is the outreach specialist. He works in the Office of Grants, Outreach and Grants Management at the Maryland Higher Education Commission, which we call MHEC. So we may use that acronym from now on. MHEC is located at 6 North Liberty Street in downtown Baltimore, and it also houses the Office of Financial Assistance, who is the administration of the Maryland State Aid. Mr. Cook is helpful with state aid and scholarships, award deadlines, and general questions about the FAFSA or the Maryland Financial Aid Forum. And he's available to meet with families and parents through appointments or for a quick chat. And we'll provide his contact information later. Good morning, Mr. Cook, and thank you for being our guest on this month's Let's Talk.
Good morning. Thank you for your warm welcome, and good morning, everyone from the great state of Maryland. Have a good bit of information to share this morning. It could be information that could be helpful now or for future reference as you start to think about your college and career journey. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'll share with you and guide you all through. I just want to note that this isn't the end-all be-all conversation. I am the greatest resource to you. Again, I work in the Office of Outreach and Grants Management, but the office that you really want to be connected to is the Office of Student Financial Assistance, better known as OSFA. They are an office within MHEC, and they are responsible for administering all state grants and scholarships. So today we'll go over an overview of just state aid and scholarships at large, and then we'll kind of break it down a little bit, and then I'll, excuse me, I'll talk about next steps of how to get you connected. All right, next slide, please. Okay, we can actually skip one more. Thank you. Okay, so today we got 4 main topics that we'll touch on. What is financial aid? We'll talk about the different sources and types of financial aid. We'll go over the steps to how to apply, and then we'll talk about some of our state financial aid programs. So simply put, financial aid is money to help pay for college or your career school. So the state of Maryland does support private and public colleges, community colleges, four-year institutions, career and vocational schools. So we'll go to the next slide. What's really important to note is that when you think about financial aid, or simply put, money to pay for college, it's important to know that they come from different sources of aid. So you have federal, state, institutional, and other. So federal aid is going to be similar to what is going to be a federal Pell Grant. So federal grants, anything that is coming from the U.S. Department of Education. State grant is what we'll mainly discuss today. So that would be state grants and scholarships, any need-based, merit-based, or career occupational grants and scholarships offered through the state of Maryland. Institutional. So if you're interested, let's say attending Bowie State University or Frostburg, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, they may have funds available for you at their institution that can help support your educational costs. And other, we'll touch on this towards the end of the presentation, but other can be pretty much any aid from additional sources. So it could come from a community-based organization, it could come from your church, it could come from a family member writing you a check to attend school. So this is what we consider other or private types of aid. What is also important to note is that gift aid is very important. Gift aid is money that does not need to be paid back, okay? So we always want to go for gift aid first. With loans, we only want to borrow what we need because we're actually, when we pay it back, we're going to pay back more than we actually borrowed. So it's very important to only borrow what you need, and you want to exhaust all scholarships and grants opportunities first. We do have a thing called work study employment. It is part of your financial aid package. Typically, this is with federal aid. And they will provide you an on-campus job with an allotment of money. So you can work on campus. They're very flexible with your school schedule. And then that is money set to the side that can help pay for your educational cost while attending college. Okay, next slide, please. All right, hopefully by now, we can click through this. I think it's some more, yes. Hopefully by now we have all heard of the free application for federal student aid. This is better known as the FAFSA. So a couple things to note about the FAFSA. One, you have to do it every year, okay? Two, it opens October 1st of each year. And three, when you submit your tax documentations, we do prior year. So right now, for anyone that is currently a senior in high school and looking to enter college fall 2023, you would be completing the 2023-2024 FAFSA. Okay, that application is live now. It became available October 1st of 22. And you need to do this each year. So FAFSA, it doesn't determine your award amount, okay? So it's not your financial aid package. This is just the application to get the process started. So for anyone that is interested in state aid, scholarships, or federal aid, you have to complete the FAFSA first. That is your very first step. We can go to the next slide. What are they looking for in the FAFSA? So long story short, they're looking at your estimated family contribution, better known as EFC. And long story short, EFC, if you have an EFC of 0 on paper, they're saying that your family has $0 to contribute to your educational expenses. Therefore, you are highly need-based and need more support to go to college. So likely you will be eligible for the maximum Pell Grant, which is that federal type of aid we talked about. They may also consider you for the Educational Assistance Grant or Guaranteed Access Grant, and we'll talk a little more about that too. But if your EFC is a 0, that means that on paper, I want to say on paper because it doesn't always, match what we realistically live in. But the EFC 0, you're going to get maximum Pell. If you have an EFC of 100, that means that your family can contribute 100% of your educational costs. Now, does that mean that excludes you from scholarships and grants? No. But remember, for the state, we're going to award need-based grants first, but there are merit-based scholarships, career occupational, and don't forget that there are private scholarships out there that can still help your educational cost. Next slide, please. All right, this is just, so within this PowerPoint, I've included video links if anyone wants additional information. I'm talking about this information now, but I just included it in this PowerPoint if anyone wants to go back and reference what we're talking about. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, this is just a screenshot of what the FAFSA webpage looks like. So you're going to go to studentaid.gov. Again, current seniors should complete the 2023-2024 FAFSA using 2021 tax documents. Okay, next slide, please. We can skip over. That's just another video resource for you all. And that one too, sorry. Okay, now we know that everyone may not be eligible for federal aid. This is typically undocumented students. There may be cases where a student has a unique circumstance where they're maybe not have support from their parents and claimed as an independent student or whatever have you. We have unique cases. So what the state of Maryland has done is created a MSFA. And that stands for Maryland State Financial Aid Application. This is pretty much the FAFSA sister, okay? So we've taken the FAFSA application and just adapted it for state grants and scholarships. So if you realize that you are not eligible for federal aid, but you're like, okay, I still want to apply for state grants and scholarships. I'm still a Maryland resident. I've been here for the past 3 years. I graduated from a Maryland high school. I still deserve to put my name in the hat for state grants and scholarships. You're absolutely right. So you're going to complete the MSFA application. Here's the thing, you don't do both. So you either fall in one category or the other. There is a unique situation to where you may not know that you're not eligible for federal aid. So my best advice for you is that everyone should just go ahead and complete the FAFSA. They're going to tell you if you're ineligible for federal aid. At the point that you realize that you are ineligible for federal aid, meaning you have completed the FAFSA and they have told you that you will not receive federal aid, you want to complete the MSFA application. The MSFA lives within the MD-CAPS system, okay? MD-CAPS is where all the applications for state grants and scholarships live. If you don't hear anything else today, please listen closely that you cannot apply for any state grants or scholarships without having an MD-CAPS account. You also cannot complete the MSFA without having an MD-CAPS account because it lives in this portal. So it's going to be your standard username and login. One thing is important that you need to have an email address that you check on the regular. Okay, so you don't want anything too complicated with 1 million characters or hot little mama 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Have an email that you check on a regular that is professional. You do want to check your spam folder because once they send you your login information, once you start applying for scholarships, they're going to have deadlines attached to them, and they're going to have deadlines to where you have to accept the award in a certain time frame. If you do not accept the award, it's going to go to the next person in line. So please be sure that you're checking your email address and you are checking your MD-CAPS portal. Next slide, please. We can skip over that. That is just additional resource on MD-CAPS. All right.
Excuse me?
Yes.
I had a question about the MSFA.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Maryland my name's Alex. I'm a Maryland resident, but I go to a DC private school. So I wouldn't be able to qualify.
So this is, yes, it's going to be for Maryland residents. So you, in the sense of that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say I am a Maryland resident, but because I go to school in DC, I can't apply.
We can talk offline. It sounds like a unique circumstance, but it sounds like you might still be eligible based off your residency, but we can talk offline and I can get you connected to get more information about your case.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, what we're all, what we're all here for. So this is a small list. I say small because we have way more scholarships than this. but a small list of our state grants and scholarships offered through the state. Guaranteed Access Grant is our flagship grant, meaning this is our top dollar scholarship that we offer through the state. This is up to $20,000. So why do we say up to $20,000? Okay, a scholarship from the state is never going to exceed the cost of attendance. So let's say you're interested in University of Maryland Eastern Shore and their tuition, which don't quote me on this, but let's say it's $11,000 per year. And you see within your MD CAPS account that you were fully awarded the Guaranteed Access Grant, but you only see $11,000. Okay, don't come looking for me saying, where's the rest of the money? It's not going to exceed your cost of attendance. So you did get fully awarded, but it's only up to what the cost of attendance is at the institution that you have selected. Okay. Now, what's important to note about I want to highlight the first two grants on here. So the Guaranteed Access Grant and the Educational Assistance Grant. Okay. The first two grants listed. You have to apply by March 1st. You have to have that FAFSA or MISFA completed by March 1st, and you have to have that MD CAPS account set up by March 1st to be eligible for those first two scholarships. So if there's any seniors in the room right now that you're like, oh no, I missed that deadline. I didn't, apply for that scholarship in time. It's okay for now. But no, next year that you want to get that information in by March 1st so you can be considered for one of those two top grants that we offer. Now, hear me again. If you're a current senior in the room and you're like, so what do? I still need financial assistance. You can still submit your FAFSA. You can still create that MD CAPS account, and they're going to consider you for the campus-based educational assistance grant. It's not listed on here, but we'll talk about it. It'll still give you that $3,000. The difference is that the institution is going to award it. It's not going to come directly from MHEC, but they still have funds available for you to attend. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. One of my favorite grants and scholarships that we offer through the state is the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship. This is a last dollar scholarship up to $5,000. So what we mean by last dollar is that it is applied after federal and state aid has been applied to your account. So let's use a case in point. Let's say we're looking at Community College of Baltimore County. Let's say your tuition is $6,000. So going back to those different buckets to where we can receive federal aid, financial aid from, let's say they give you $2,000 federal Pell Grant. So that checks the box for federal aid. Let's say the state gives you $2,000 for the 2+2 scholarship. Okay, so currently right now you have federal and state aid applied on your student account, but you still have a balance of $2,000 left. What can you do? You can apply for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship, and being that you already had federal and state aid applied to your student account, you can apply for this scholarship and it's going to wipe out that remaining balance. So we said we had a balance left of $2,000. This is going to take care of that. Okay. So if you had a balance of $6,000 left, well, you're only going to get $5,000 from this, but that surely helps to make a difference of $1,000 rather than $5,000 left on your student account. So this is a really great scholarship opportunity. Next slide, please. We can, one more, please. This is just more quick tips. That's actually me right there. So we can keep going. Okay. And then we already talked about guaranteed access. So in the next couple of slides, it's just going to outline the process and application process for different grants that we have. One thing that I just really want to hone in on today is that the application process is primarily going to remain the same. Your first step is always to complete the FAFSA or MISFA as early as October 1st, no later than March 1st. Again, we say no later than March 1st because with the Guaranteed Access Grant, which is up to $20,000, and the Educational Assistance Grant, which is up to $3,000, the required application process has to be submitted by March 1st, okay? So very important deadlines. And then secondly, you want to create that MD CAPS account, okay? Third, you just want to look at each grant is going to have required documentation that you have to submit, and it's going to have a unique deadline. So for guaranteed access, you see that April 1st is the deadline to submit required documentation. This could be a high school transcript. This could be independent or dependent student verification form. It depends on the grant that you're applying for, but it's very important to pay attention to the deadline to submit the required documentation. However, I just want to hone in again that any grant that you apply for, pretty much the standard process is going to remain the same. Complete the FAFSA, complete the MD CAPS account, pay attention to those deadlines. Okay, we can keep going. We can scroll past this one. This is the campus-based EA program I was talking about. So this is a case to where if you missed that March 1st deadline, this is what you would be considered for. So you could still get $3,000 for educational expenses, but this is going to come directly from the campus, not from MHEC. Okay, you still apply for it in MD CAPS. It's just a difference of where the money comes from. Next slide, please. And legislative scholarships. So we do support senatorial and delegate scholarships. What we always say is go to mdelect.net. Every senator and delegate is going to have a unique process for submitting applications for scholarships. So if you check out that website there and get in contact with their office, they can provide you more information on those steps. Next slide, please. And I think we're towards the end. So tuition waivers are offered through the state too, typically for homeless youth, foster care recipients, and students with disabilities. Two things to note. You want to get in contact with your high school counselor about more information about this. And also, there's nothing that you really need to do from the student or family side to be considered for these awards. So they will actually determine this at your institution. So your high school will pretty much make connections with the college that you plan to attend, and they're going to determine your eligibility for this. Remember that what's important to note for this, it only covers tuition and fees. So it wouldn't be room and board, but it considerably helps that student balance. Okay, next slide. All right, we're towards the end. These are some private scholarships. This will be that other category that I spoke about at the beginning of the presentation, to where it could be from community-based organizations. It could be from your church. Your aunt could write you a check. On here, you see food and drink scholarships. Okay, this is not about how much you can eat and drink. This is about like organizations like Coca-Cola, Pepsi that offer different scholarships opportunities that you wouldn't even know about. So really think outside the box of where you could apply for scholarships. I know athletic organizations offer them. I believe Chipotle even has a scholarship program. So please, there is no limit to how many scholarships you can have on your student account. It really is not. Now, there may be stipulations on different scholarships to say you have to have, a balance. So you need to look into that, but you can apply for as many scholarships as you want on your student account. That's the goal, to not take any loans at all. So just keep that in mind, apply for everything that you can, and go from there. Next slide, please. On our website, you can subscribe to MHEC texts and updates. So if you have started the process and you want to have updates on, when they're going to make awards for the guaranteed access, you can get text notifications. Or if you're just getting the process started and, just starting to think about college and things like that, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and get signed up so you can get a feel for, when application deadlines are due, and get the process started and go ahead and get organized. Next slide, please. All right. So here's my information. You can text or email me. So it looks weird. You might not think like he's saying text his email address. You really can. So you can text my email address, but it'll come to me in the email and I can respond immediately. So just a quick option for you if you have a quick question. This QR code here is actually a link to book a virtual appointment with the Office of Student Financial Assistance. So I do want to make a clear difference here. My job is to kind of go out and be a resource and kind of be that middleman between you and our office. But if you have already started a process and you want to know the status of an application that you've submitted, you want to know, you need technical assistance on submitting required documentation for a grant or scholarship, you really want to meet with OSFA, the Office of Student Financial Assistance. So if you scan that QR code, they offer virtual appointments every day. I believe it's from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. For 30-minute time blocks. So any day of the week, Monday through Friday, you could just jump on and see what availability they have, and they would be ready to meet with you that day. So I believe this concludes our presentation. I know that was a wealth of information. Again, it doesn't need to be the end all be all today, but we're just dropping gems and nuggets to get the process started. So I'm happy to hang around for Q&A and, answer questions that you all may have, but thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a fantastic, yeah, definitely. That was a lot of information in a very short period of time, and we really appreciate your presentation. We do hope that you will hang around for a few minutes, as a matter of fact, let me just pause and see if are any questions from the audience. What we plan to do once we conclude this part of the presentation, we'll go into and have Debbie present a little bit about the process for applying for the Senator Melony G. Griffith Scholarship for the next school year. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but can we go back first? I want to do the Q&A on the Mr. Cook's presentation first. Thanks. Okay. So are there any questions for Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I had a question.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me, so that we go. Okay, go ahead. I think Ms. Walker was speaking.
Yes, I was. I had a question. Are the funds only for a Maryland college, or can you just be a resident of Maryland and receive the funding for an out-of-state?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Great question. These are state grants and scholarships, so they have to be applied to a public or private institution in the state of Maryland, unless the major is not offered in the state of Maryland, okay? And then we have something called the academic common market, which pretty much you can use, it will make the difference of in-state versus out-of-state tuition for states surrounding the state of Maryland. So I'll drop a link in the chat for that actually, but in most cases, state grants and scholarships must be applied to state institutions.
Hey, did someone else have a question? So Mr. Cook, I did have a question, and it's sort of, I think I understand this, but if someone is applying to attend a career school, maybe not a 4-year academic institution, but a career school, is the process the same for those students?
Yes, ma'am. The process is going to be the same. So they would still need to complete that FAFSA or MISFA no later than March 1st and create an MD CAPS account. We also have additional scholarships that are career vocational based too. So if students are interested in cybersecurity, or we have a police scholarship program as well. So we do have it would be a great opportunity for anyone that's on that career vocational route, because they would be considered for a need-based grant as well as career and vocational scholarships.
Senator Griffith, I see a question in the chat. The question is, are there options for homeschool students? Does FAFSA require information from a school?
This would be a unique case, but generally speaking, the requirements to apply for a state grant or scholarship is have a high school diploma or equivalent or a GED. So as long as you have that credential in that regards, then you would be eligible for state grants and scholarships.
Mr. Cook, I have one more question.
Okay.
So for you said that for the state grants and scholarships, you must be going to an in-state institution. What about the senatorial and delegate scholarships? Do you have to be attending a state institution for those? In-state institution.
I would lean to, I think they may discuss this in an upcoming slide regarding senatorial delegate and legislative scholarships. My guess would be yes, though. It would need to be applied to a public or a private institution, but I'll lean to the next presenter on that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But I can say that the guidelines that I've looked at with the Maryland Higher Education Commission, it does indicate that you must go to an in-state school unless the career that you're seeking is not what you're seeking to major in is not offered at a Maryland institution. There are some other exceptions if you're disabled and you need special accommodations. And for example, if you are disabled and you have a hearing disability and you go to Gallaudet, because they don't offer the support that you need at an institution in Maryland, then that would be acceptable. And then there's an exception for individuals in the military.
Thank you. Well, we'll go ahead since Ms. McBroom is already speaking. We'll let her go ahead and talk about the Senator Melony G. Griffith Scholarship. I kind of like the sound of that. And then we'll pause for questions again. Okay.
Good morning again, and I'm Deborah McBroom, and I am working with Senator Griffith with her Senatorial Scholarship Program. There are two dates that are pretty essential. One, which is past March the 1st, which Mr. Cook has talked about with the deadline for the FAFSA application. But the other important deadline is for the application packet for Senator Griffith Scholarship. Some of you may have already received the application that I have on the screen sharing. If you have not received the application, you can send an email to melony.griffith.district@senate.state.md.us. And we will first want you to have verified that you're actually living in Senator Griffith's district, which is the 25th legislative district. The email there, https:// that is the email address that you can go to, the web address that you can go to verify what district you live in. When you pull that up, you pull up the look up and then put in your address, and it will give you the district that you're living in. If you're not in the 25th district, it will tell you what district you're in, and that will guide you as to what senator or delegate you can go to inquire about their scholarship process. And as Mr. Cook mentioned, each elected official's process might be quite different. So don't assume that it'll be one application for everyone. There's information on the application that talks about how many, what it means to be a full-time student versus a part-time student. And the fact that this scholarship is not just for individuals that are seeking to apply at colleges and universities. You can also be interested in some type of private career school. For example, some type of vocational or trade type school. You could also be eligible for the scholarship. And this is the out-of-state exceptions that was mentioned, that I mentioned earlier, that you can, the only way that you can get possibly assistance if you have a unique, what they call a unique major that's not offered in the state of Maryland. And then you have to fill out an application with the Maryland Higher Education Commission, and it's called their unique major application, and they will then decide if you do qualify under that category. And as indicated, if you're in the military, you could possibly get tuition assistance out of state. And if you are have a special, if you need special accommodations that are not offered at a university in Maryland. And the senator will also consider financial need in terms of eligibility as well. What you need to complete the application packet, as indicated for the Senatorial Scholarship, the FAFSA, and the MSFAA should have been completed by March the 1st. We're asking for 2 letters of recommendation, hopefully 2 current letters of recommendation, transcript. An unofficial transcript will be accepted, but it does need to be on your school's letterhead. If you cannot get an official transcript, we will not accept any handwritten or self-typed transcripts, will not be accepted. Essay, we have chosen 2 questions, and you can choose from either of the questions with a 400 to 500 word response. The first question is, write about the role that a certain activity, sports, theater, or band, or what have you, has had on your life. And the second question that you can select is, write about a person who has inspired you and explain how they inspired you. We'd like you to use Microsoft Word to type the essay, and please include your name and number of the pages. When you do your essay, please put your name on each page. I would prefer that you send all the information at one time, which includes the application, letters of recommendation, transcript, and essay at one time. And again, the due date is April 30th. And of course, this is the application. It is a fillable application, just asking for basic demographic information, name, address, gender, email address, contact number, and an optional contact number, and then your high school information, and then what college you are planning to attend. And what is your enrollment status? Are you going to be enrolled full-time or part-time? And we do need your most current cumulative GPA and your anticipated major. And then if you have any extracurricular or community service activities you also want to talk about, this is an opportunity for you all to give us a little bit more information or insight on who you are. And we also want you to sign the application. If you're under the age of 18, the application must also be signed by a parent or guardian. And we ask for their name, address, contact number, email address, and signature for the parent or guardian. And that is pretty much the application packet. And if anybody has any questions at this time regarding the application, I'll be happy to address it.
Okay, and we can go back to the full screen. And thank you, Debbie, for that presentation and information. Want to give folks any questions about that process? Okay, just so you all know, the next steps after that process will be that we do have a 25th District Scholarship Committee that works with our applications. The applications are reviewed by community and civic leaders who volunteer to spend time with us and learn about the students that are applying for higher education or career and technical training. And then we hope to have the recommendations announced by late May, early June, so that it can inform people's academic decisions and choices. As I shared in my icebreaker, sometimes people, the aid that they get determines where they attend and what they study. So we definitely want to get that information to you as early as possible. Delegate Tolles, are you still there? I don't know if Delegate Tolles is still there, but I will say that each of the 3 delegates, Delegate Daryl Barnes, Delegate Cameron Tolles, and the chair of the Prince George's delegation is our 3rd delegate, Delegate Nick Charles. They all have we all have scholarship. Unfortunately, our process is not the same, even in the 25th district. So I encourage anyone who's seeking financial aid from the 25th district team to reach out to each of the delegates as well as my office.
I am still here, Senator. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my mute off. So this is wonderful. I'm sorry, Senator, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. So I definitely, as the Senator indicated, we also have scholarships in our district for the delegates, for the House of Delegates. I will include my email information in the chat so that you all can email my office. Ms. Karen Ashby will be my scholarship chair, and she will review applications. We do have a different application process. Not you know, different, not so much different from what the Senator has shown here today, but as indicated, each one of us have different methods in which we provide scholarships. And then I will also add that I would like for you to follow Bill HB 680, which is a student loan bill. If you do have to still take out loans, the state is offering this year ability to do that. If that bill passes, you may have some relief once you graduate. So just know that we are working hard to ensure you know, your education is paid for and you get the best resources possible from the state of Maryland. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Delegate. And we had a question from Jaquita. Are you, Miss Jordan, are you still there? I saw your hand raised.
Yes, I am Jaquetta Jordan, and I have my two daughters here watching with me. The question is, one of my daughters is currently a college student, and so we're not really sure. She's in her first year. We're not really sure how to obtain letters of recommendation for a college student.
That is an excellent question, and we did not emphasize that in our remarks. We absolutely love to help and support people that are returning to school or going to school, you know, continuing their education. Certainly can suggest any coworker. It can be a recommendation from a coworker. If you have an employer, if you have a community leader engaged in any, you know, volunteer work, any letters of recommendation don't have to be from a teacher or an instructor at a school, but that's certainly acceptable. Debbie, anything you would add?
Yeah, any kind of relationships that your daughters may have in the community can also be provide the letter of recommendation. That, as Senator said, does not have to come from her high school. It could come from any of her social groups or whatever, or faith groups or whatever you may belong to.
Counselor, neighbor.
Yeah.
Are there any, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? I actually had someone ask me for a letter of reference for my scholarship once, so anybody's fair game. Are there any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this month's Let's Talk. I want to give Mr. Kendall Cook another big thank you for your presentation and for taking time on a Saturday morning to come and be with us and share information about MHEC. Really appreciate that. One of the slides that I actually captured was the slide where you talked about private scholarships. Just the number of categories you provided in that section certainly offer some guidance and direction for people who might not have considered just searching scholarships by food and beverage companies, or I think one of, you know, their equipment companies and all kinds of places that you had on your screen, just to offer people, whether they're in state or out of state, options for financial assistance. So we really thank you and appreciate your information. We are going to and thank you. The contact information for Delegate Tolles and our 25th district team is in the chat, as well as Mr. Cook has posted his contact information. We will be sending out just in a week or so, hopefully. We're crazy busy in Annapolis, but we'll send out as soon as possible the link to this installation of Let's Talk along with the slides. I know that the slides had some videos that we might want to take advantage of. So we'll certainly provide those links to you all in a follow-up email and invite you to reach out to us if you have questions for additional information. And certainly invite you to visit the Senator Melony G. Griffith YouTube page where you can see previous Let's Talks. We have videos on healthy eating in a budget, avoiding cyber scams and schemes. Let's talk about employment opportunities. We did what caregivers and Deb, what was the other Let's Talk that we did? Services for seniors and community resources. We've had a number of, we did a Let's Talk on wills, estates, and trusts. We've had a number of really robust conversations with expert speakers, and we just encourage you to take advantage of Let's Talk and get this valuable information in our communities. Thank you so very much for joining us.